Good morning everyone, my name is Audrey, I'm stitchywitch42. This is my channel about cross-stitch life, the universe, and everything, and today is Monday the 29th of January 2024. 89 days, people. 89 days until I retire. Oh my gosh. 89 days. I have a bunch to talk about. I've got a pile. I've got thing with me this morning because we have a new member of the family that we get to share, and so I gathered thing to help me introduce. Shall I share them right now? No, I think we have to wait. We'll wait for a little while. We'll wait for a little while and show the whole family. Let's talk bats. Last year I made a comment on a random video that I might possibly stitch 24 bat projects in 2024, and this year I decided that why not stitch 24 bats in 2024. So I announced it here on my video, and I announced it on Instagram that I'm using the hashtag 24 bats in 2024, and I'm going to stitch on 24 projects. And if anybody wanted to join me and they use that hashtag plus tagging me at stitchywitch42 on Instagram, that come next January 1st, if anybody had also stitched 24 bats with me, that's assuming I'm going to stitch all 24 of them. I'm going to try. If anybody stitched 24 bat projects, use that hashtag and tag me and posted it on Instagram. That come next January, I will put them into a drawing for a gift card from Acorns and Threads for $24 because 24, you know. But I asked in my last video if anybody had any extra bat patterns besides what I showed, if they would share them with me, and people did. So I'm going to share them with you, and I'm going to try to put links in the drop-down box down below if you want to go take a look at these. So, grabbing my notes, first of all, I want to thank Janice because she told me about Nathnolu on Etsy. That's Nathnolu on Etsy. There is a pattern of a bat with a scarf and a winter brew. And then Carla, being crafty, she asked me if I would be interested in stitching a Mirabilia bat or cat bat. It's called Midnight Meow, and she showed me hers, and it is absolutely gorgeous. I think a Mira is a bit bigger than I want to stitch, this year anyway. I've never stitched a Mira, so who knows? Maybe there is a Mira in my future. I don't know. But possibly not this year. But thank you anyway, Carla, for sharing that with me. Sweet Woodruff suggested the drawn thread, Bats in the Belfry. I've actually stitched that one before. So it's upstairs. If I hadn't stitched it then, it would be a definite on the list type of thing. Devi, who is Glitter Dove Fairies on Instagram, and I'm going to mention her a couple of times today. She suggested Stitchit Picasso. Stitchit Picasso has a lot of fabulous patterns. They're the one that I did the Kissing Skeletons for Mark and me 2 years ago, I think, for our anniversary. And then the Gremlins hid it from me for a year. They stored it away someplace where they put it. Gremlins meaning me. It took me a year to find it, but I found it and I have it back out again. But Stitchit Picasso has a lot of fabulous patterns to check out. Then my friend Sandy, she had sent me an email and directed me over to Doreen Jones to her Facebook page where she offers up a lot of free patterns. And there is a Halloween bat biscornu there that is a free chart, and I think I have it in my bag. We'll see. The bag's here. The bag's here. Next, there was Linda who said check out Witchy Stitcher on Etsy. I am the night. Oh my gosh, that is the cutest little bat pattern. It's got a poof of hair. I may have to go get that one and swap out another one. I mean, I have a list. I have a bunch of projects in my bag. Things may be swapped out. I don't know, but I Am the Night is so, so cute. And then Helen, let's see if I can pronounce this name correctly. Una Buena Pieza. Pieza? Una Buena Pieza on Etsy. I'll list it down below. There is one called Mini Night Garden, and I went and I looked at that and I thought, where's the bats? And there's two teeny tiny little bats. So those are the ones that people have added to my list. And thank you all for joining me on that. It was also asked of me, since I clarified and I said it's 24 bat projects, not just 24 bats, because I didn't want somebody to take a piece of fabric and stitch 24 bats on there and post it and use the hashtag and tag me on Instagram and say, there, I'm done. Because no, it's a game. I want this to last throughout the year. I want to have some fun. But it was suggested to me that I should not only keep track of my 24 bat projects, I should also count how many bats I stitched this year. So, thanks for adding to that. But I'm really tickled to say that at least 2 people so far on Instagram have posted and shared their bat projects, and they've used the hashtag and they've tagged me, and one of them is Devi. Again, she is Glitter Dove Fairy on Instagram. The other one is Jenn, who is Beach Stitch 1395. So thank you, ladies, for joining my batty craziness. I've gone batty this year. So, you want to add some more bats? I get this package in the mail the other day. It came to me all the way from Maine. And in this lovely envelope, from Michelle, who is the mom of Moose, are buttons. There's, let me see, this. There's this button. And that button. There's a Jabco button. A bat on a tombstone. There's another Jabco button. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teeny tiny little bat buttons on a shank. So thank you, Michelle, for adding to my bats. I appreciate the fact that some of you want to go along on my batty adventures with me. Okay. I have 2 finishes, 1 new start, and I'm keeping all my bat projects in this great big bag. This is the one that I stole from Cheryl at the Mountain Stitchers White Elephant swap. And that great big piece of fabric that she had inside the bag. Oops. Oh, this is the other freebie from Doreen Jones, the Bat Biscornu. So I can share that one on screen. The great big piece of fabric that Cheryl had given me, you know, the one that I was unwrapping and here and there and everything. I've got 2 bats done. The first one was from Doreen Jones. And then the second one, this was Cauldrons and Bats by excuse me, I have to look at my notes because I know I wrote it down. Cauldrons and Bats. Cauldrons and Bats, oh my, Cauldrons and Bats, oh my. By Witchy Stitcher on Etsy. And there is that one. I was not sure if I was going to like the steam coming out of the pot, but it's a magical brew. And I absolutely love it. There's 2 shades of lavender and 3 shades of green in it. And I just think this is really so much prettier stitched up than it looked on the pattern. But I still thought the pattern was a cool pattern. So those are my first 2 fully stitched projects. I'm not going to implement anything about them having to be fully finished because that would just be crazy. Oh my gosh. And then the one that I started, on the top of the pattern it just says bat, but I'm calling this one Hang In There Bat. It's this one. I'm using page protectors to keep all the ones that I've downloaded from Etsy in them, and then I get really, you know, fancy and I just throw my floss in there. But they're all in the big bag. So it works for me. So this one I have swapped out 2 colors on it. When I was upstairs and I was pulling my DMCs for it, there is a shade of pink in it and a shade of purple in it, and I didn't have those exact colors. DMC 604 light pink mauve and DMC 3834 dark grape. But I had 602, which is another shade of pink, and I had 3835, which is another shade of purple, so I just thought I'll swap them out. Now I posted a picture of this one on Instagram, and the funny thing is that on that picture both the colors pop. In person it's really hard to see the difference between them. It's like they're too close in color. The letters on the words Hang In There are not finished yet because on the pattern it shows that you do some back stitching on them. You do some back stitching on them, and like the line on the H and the line on the N and the line on the R down here, those are all back stitched. They're not done yet. But this is where I'm at with this one. It's a lot smaller than I thought it would be. But to me, it's really hard to see the colors between the 2 of them. So I'm going to finish stitching this one, obviously. But I thought that I would take, I think it's DMC 816. It's a red, it's a maroony, purpley red. It's in my Alfons Mucha. And I'm going to use that to do the back stitching around the letters and to do the line between the H and the line on the N and the line on the R. And I think that will make that pop, and I might also use it to do the outlining around the balloon. But this little bat here is going to be cute. I'm just saying, it's going to be cute. So that's where I am at with my hashtag 24 bats in 2024. This bag is nice because right now it has all my bat projects in it, and it even has the next start that I want to do, and I've got all my flosses in here. My next one is going to be Heart and Hand Halloween Doodles because that's cute. So I've got all my floss pulled there. It will probably go back on this big piece of fabric because I'm trying to use what I have. Am I succeeding? We'll see. We shall see. Alrighty. Next, we need to talk about my Alfons Mucha. I'm going to be posting a picture at the end of this video because I have an issue. We're going to talk about the issue. My Alfons Mucha sits across the living room from me on the stand that she is on, and I haven't been working on her for several months, but she sits across from me and she glares at me, and I think you understand that cross stitch can glare at you and say, hey, you haven't paid any attention to me. She's been doing that. So I decided to pull her out this month and get some work done on her. And if you followed me for any length of time, I don't stitch page 1 and then go to page 2 and page 3 and page 4 and 5 and 6. I don't do them in order. I stitch top, center, move to the left, go over to the right, and then I go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. There are 28 pages to this project. There's 4 pages for a row. The row that I'm working on is 17, 18, 19, and 20. I've stitched 20. I've stitched 19. 18 was the page that I finished this month. So I gave myself a star in my journal for finishing a page. Then I started working on page 17, and I thought to myself, mix it up a little bit. Don't do things the way you always do. Go batty. So instead of doing color completion, which is kind of sort of what I do, maybe in a random, vague sort of type way, that was clear-eyed, I decided that I would start at the corner where there was stitching around it, and I would complete an area. But I don't do 10 by 10 blocks. Again, I would take a color and I'd work this area and I'd stitch out a little ways, and then I'd go back in and I would fill it in. And that way I was seeing the pattern progress, because on my Alfons Mucha, where I'm stitching right now, it's a lot of the background, which is just a lot of color variation going through there. But as I was stitching these little areas and filling everything in, you start seeing the background develop. And I got a page finish. And I looked at it, and I looked at my journal because I went to give myself a second star, and it took me 9 days. 9 days to finish a whole page on my Alfons Mucha. And I thought to myself, I started my Alfons Mucha in 2020. It's now 2024 and I'm not finished with it. And I thought to myself some more. The first Alfons Mucha I stitched for my daughter Erin, and I was a monogamous stitcher at that time, and that first Alfons Mucha took me 13 months, start to finish. And then a few years later I decided to stitch one for myself. And again, I was still a monogamous stitcher at that time. And that one took me 11 months, start to finish. So then, either shortly before I started making videos, or right after I started making videos, and it's been 6.5 years of me recording myself, talking to myself, and posting it on FlossTube, I started my third Alfons Mucha. I love Alfons Mucha's artwork, and one of the things that I love about his ladies is not only the beauty of the ladies themselves, it's the framework that he painted around his ladies. And I wasn't paying attention when I ordered the pattern for the third Alfons Mucha, which is the moon, because Cross Stitch Collectibles, where I got it from, offered two versions. One with the frame and one without the frame, and me not paying any attention when I ordered the one without a frame. And that bothered me. I still stitched the piece. I still love the lady that's in there. But it took me 2 years to finish that one. And I think it took that long, one, because it didn't have the framework. Two, I'm totally blaming Floss too, because all of a sudden I have to be stitching on multiple projects so that I have something to share when I'm talking to myself and recording myself talking to myself. But it took me 2 years to finish her, and as I got closer to finishing her, I realized I didn't know where she belonged in my house. A lot of my pieces, when I stitch them, because I do the whole thing, I like picking out the patterns, I like collecting the things needed to make the pattern, I like the actual stitching, I like watching it develop. I like getting to the end and knowing that I'm about to finish. And then I like having a fully finished project afterwards, whether it's framed or a pillow or whatever. And I know where I'm going to display it in my home, or if it's going to be a seasonal item, I know. And that third Alfons Mucha never told me where she belonged in my home. But then a friend said she knew where she belonged in her home, and I gave her away. And I still feel like that was the right thing to do, because I can go visit her anytime I want to see her. In fact, I have a room at my friend's house, so I can go visit if I want to see her. But the one that I'm working on, this one is also one for me, and I know exactly where she's going to go. I discovered I have an issue with her. I finished page number 17, which meant I had 20 pages of 28-page pattern fully stitched. And I was thinking to myself, if I got this last page done in 9 days, there's no reason why I can't get her finished this year. So I sat down one morning and I was watching Helen D, and she has just recently started stitching on scroll frames, and she had asked me a question too. I'm right hand dominant, so when I'm stitching the right side, I'm working here. The middle is really easy to work on, but the left side is kind of a bit of a struggle because you're stitching over on this side of the scroll frame. She asked a question to her viewers, and one of them came back and said, can you turn your scroll frame upside down and make the left side now the right side? You'll be stitching upside down, but especially on my Alfons Mucha, like I said, I'm stitching background. So I can stitch upside down. Wouldn't be a problem. So I got in my chair, I got my frame set up on the arms of the chair, and then I decided that I was going to move the fabric so that where I would be stitching would be closer to me. And I spotted an issue. And it's a big issue. I work, my scroll frame is an Edmonds floor frame. The scroll rods themselves are split rods, so it's open the majority of the way across the rod, and you slide the fabric in there and then you twist it around, okay? As I was scrolling my Ada down to get to where I could stitch upside down on my project, I saw the end of the Ada. Okay, that's fine. But I was looking at it, and I was looking at the space. And then I looked at my pattern. And then I looked at the fabric. And then I looked at my pattern again, and I grabbed my pattern, and I pulled out pages 21 and 25. There's 8 pages left. And I counted how many spaces there are in the row of pages 25, 26, 21, 22, 23, 24. And I counted how many rows there are in that. And then I grabbed page 25, which would be on the bottom row, and it's not a full page, and I counted how many rows would be on that. There's 115 rows left to be stitched on my Alfons Mucha, and I looked at the fabric. And I looked at where the Ada was sticking out at the end of the scroll rod. And I counted the rows again. And then I counted the rows left on my Ada, and you know where I'm going. You know where I'm going. I am either going to make it just to the very edge of the Ada, or I'm going to run out of space. Because when I counted between where I was at, stitch-wise, 90 rows put me right below the scroll rod. The fabric that's in the scroll rod is about that big, and there's about that much fabric left after that. And I don't know if there's enough fabric to stitch my Alfons Mucha on. So I stopped and I thought about it, and I told Mark, and he goes, "Is there any way you can fix it?" And I said, "I have an idea, but I want to call my framer and I want to talk to her, because I'm very fortunate here in Silverton. We have a shop called Silverton Art and Frame. Molly and her partner are the proprietors there. They've been there for about 6.5 years. They bought it from the previous 2 ladies that owned it and had framed my other Muchas. So the next day I called Molly, and I was asking her, one, about my Halloween balcony, when I would be getting that back, and I should be getting it back shortly, so I'm hoping to be able to share that with you in my next video. And then I said, and I have an issue and I need your advice, because she's my framer. I told her all of this, that I'm either going to get right to the very edge of that fabric to finish it, or I'm going to run out. And I said, how is that going to work with framing? And she goes, what are the margins like on the other 3 edges? And I said, oh, I've got a 3-inch margin on both sides, and I'm sure 3 inches at the top. And she goes, it's not an issue, which made me feel so much better. She told me that as long as she has good margins on either side, she can make the bottom work, even if I'm all the way at the edge of the fabric. And I'm like, this lady knows what she's doing. This lady knows what she's doing. And I told her, but I don't like that. It will bother me in my brain knowing that I either ran out of fabric or I'm right at the edge of the fabric. Because Ada, like any other fabric, is going to unravel on the edges, right? So I discussed with her another option, and that's the option that I'm going with. I stitch on Ada, I stitch on linen, I stitch on even weave. I have plenty of fabric in my house. Do you think that I could find another piece of 14 count Ada that is the same width as what I'm stitching my Alfons Mucha on in my house? No, no, of course not. So I went onto Amazon, I ordered another roll of Charles Craft 14 count Aida. That Aida should be arriving, I think, between February 2nd and February 9th. Plenty of time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut about a 5-inch strip of that Aida that is the same width as my Alfons Mucha's fabric. And I'm going to baste it onto the back of the piece that I'm currently working on. That's why I'm not showing my Alfons Mucha today, although I will be adding a picture at the end so you can see how close it is to my scroll frame. I think if I baste another piece of Aida behind it, maybe an inch, inch and a half from the current edge of my fabric, while it might make it a little bit difficult to stitch through, I think for my own peace of mind, it's the best way to go about it. And then I will take it to Molly and I will let her do her magic and get it framed. So my goal is to get my Alfons Mucha done this year. One, because it took me 9 days to do a page if I just do a little bit each day. And two, now that I know I have this issue with being so close to the edge of the fabric, I want to get it done because it's time. So, Alfons Mucha, I still love him. I have notes here. My note said giveaway. Do you think I read my notes before I did my video? I need to do some more giveaways. I've got a basket of stuff upstairs, but I forgot to bring anything down. It's early this morning and I thought that I would get up. I did something to my left shoulder blade. I pulled the muscle and it's been really, really hurting. And nothing compared to anything that I went through last year, but it's been bothering me and I haven't been sleeping. I was up at 4 o'clock this morning and I thought, well, Mark's still upstairs sleeping, get your video done. So that's why I didn't go upstairs and pull anything for a giveaway. I'm going to blame Mark. I'm blaming Floss Tube for my Alfons Mucha's taking so long. Yeah, I could blame Floss Tube for Going Batty. Maybe. Maybe not. But I'm going to blame Mark for me forgetting to do a giveaway. Want to talk about Acorns and Threads, acorn gatherings that happened yesterday up at Acorns and Threads? Janine puts on acorn gatherings every year in January. It's her winter gathering and she calls it acorn gatherings. Duh. It was yesterday in the annex from 10 to 4. I got there in plenty of time. Anna shows up, and not exactly sure how she did it, but she managed to be first in line. And we were all waiting to go in to the annex, and then we were told that we couldn't go into the annex, but we could go into the shop and look around for a little bit because they were not going to let us in until 1:45. It's like Janine and her crew don't trust us. Right. So in the shop, I met my friend Julie, and Julie gave me a lovely, lovely little gift. And this is what Thing is so excited about. Thing and I would like to introduce you to Mini Thing. This is a needle minder. I think Julie said it's from the Black Needle Society. She saw it. She bought all that were available. And she gave me one. I know she gave one to Anna. I know she gave one to Cheryl. I don't know who else she gave the others to. But it's a needle minder. And it fits perfectly on my name badge for Acorns and Threads. And I think this is where Mini-Thing is going to be, so that anytime I go up to a gathering or a function at Acorns and Threads and I need a name badge, I will have my Mini-Thing with me. So adorable. So adorable. Thank you, Julie. So, Acorn gathering started, and when she does acorn gatherings, there is always a designer who designs something for Acorns and Threads. I think this was my third acorn gatherings that I've participated in. I think it's the second one I've done in person. The first time I went to one, we were doing a project from Lizzie Kate, designed for Acorns and Threads. And then I know that I did one, I think the one in 2021 via Zoom. And again, there was a project that I don't remember because I didn't stitch it, that was designed for Acorns and Threads. This time the designer was Fox and Rabbit. And it's funny because if you look on the pattern has a different name. So I think this is something that they will be releasing at a later date. But she changed it, and it's now called A Gathering of Acorns. And do you see what's right in the middle? There's a house. There's a house. I'm not a house stitcher, but there's a house. Now the table where I'm sitting at, Jenny, Anna, Julie, Jolynn, Margaret, one of them suggested you can make it into the Addams Family house. So I looked at the flosses that came along with this, and while the pattern shows that the house is stitched in red floss, there's all these beautiful classic colorwork flosses here. And there's one here called Black Coffee, no, not Black Coffee, Muddy Puddle. And it's grays and greens. They used it for the door. I'm stitching a house, people. I'm stitching a house. And I decided that I am going to use the Muddy Puddle for the background of the house. So this is my center start. I'm working on the left window, and then there will be the right window. So the house is only going to be about this wide. But I'm going to stitch this house, and I'm going to try to make an Addams Family interpretation of this pattern. We were discussing it, and the lovely little lady in blue here is not going to be stitched in blue. I'm going to adapt her dress a little bit. Maybe get rid of the basket of flowers that she's holding. And I'm going to try to make her into Wednesday Addams. And down here, where Fox and Rabbit put a squirrel in, Fox and Rabbit and squirrel am I think, with the help of Mini-Thing, I'm going to try to put a thing in place of the squirrel. Now the plant here, these are all acorns. I may leave them as acorns. I may darken them up some because Adam's family. Anna suggested that I put a tombstone over here. I might do that. But the point is, I'm stitching a house. I mean, seriously, me. Stitching. Okay, I've stitched houses. I have. I'm not a fan of stitching houses, which is why I seriously doubt you'll ever see me stitch an abundance of them, but I am stitching a house. And that's an accomplishment for me. There was shopping to be done. And there was a gift. There was a lady that came up and introduced herself to Anna. And she came back and she offered up Anna a little gift, and then she offered the others that she had to some of us that were sitting at the table. And it's a cute little spool that can be used to hold scissors. But you see these little woolly balls right here? The caps of them? Those are real acorns. The road crew is working outside. Oh, detour on story here. We got a door hanger the other day that said, due to unforeseen circumstances, road work will continue through the end of March on this project that was supposed to be done at the end of November. My husband, who works for a paving company, he goes, end of March means end of June. So apparently the engineers have figured out a way to work around the problem that the fact that the water level in this area of town is so high, and underneath the road is a layer of clay that is not solid. It means that they've figured out a way to fix what they shouldn't have messed with in the first place. Yeah. Anyway, getting back to this lovely little piece here. This little thing right here, these are acorns. When Kathleen goes on her travels, she picks up acorns from wherever she's at, and she used them. These are the tiniest little acorn caps I've ever seen. But this is just an adorable little piece. And like I said, it holds a pair of scissors. So I made good use of it yesterday, and thank you very much, Kathleen, for sharing that with me. But let's talk fabric. Because I had to go into the shop. I went into the shop because I wanted some white lady dot chenille, and in December they didn't have any, and they had called me the other day and had stuck 2 packages in my bag up there, which means that I can now fully finish my Mr. Grinches that I want to make into a stand-up, because I wanted to use this for the trim. But being that Fox and Rabbit was the designer, they had some beautiful fabrics in there. And not only did they have fabrics from Fox and Rabbit, they had fabric from Atomic Ranch Fabrics. So I went over and I looked at them, and I found a beautiful 18 count Aida. The colorway is called Oxygen. And this is just beautiful. So I will be playing with that. The first one that I saw, excuse me, was another Aida. This is a 14 count Aida. This is called Bayou. And this, people, just beautiful. it could have bats on it. But then there was another piece. This is a printed fabric. And I saw it, and there was absolutely no way that I could pass this up. Because even though I'm not fond of the creators of this design, I'm fascinated by this design. That was clear as mud, right? This is spider web. Look at this. Absolutely stunningly gorgeous. So, those were the three pieces of fabric that I picked up yesterday. I have an idea for which one of my bat projects might look really good on this spiderweb fabric. Now I want to talk about the ladies that I was sitting with, because Julie, the one who gifted me Mini-Thing, she's an instigator. I said it, Julie, you're an instigator. She's taking pictures of all of us sitting there, and one of our crew was just not able to be there because when the sign-ups happened for Acorn Gathering, you could either sign up to be there in person or you could sign up to be there via Zoom. And Cheryl, one half of Stitching with the Sisterlies, accidentally chose the Zoom option and didn't realize until the in-person was full that she had chosen the wrong option. So Instigator Julie is taking photos, and she's sending a copy to me, and she's sending a copy to Anna, and she's sending a copy to Cheryl, and posting pictures of these fabrics and other fabrics that Anna was getting, and Cheryl was going a wee bit crazy at home. And finally, Julie pushed her to the point where Cheryl said she's going to break all the rules, and she got in her car and she came over and crashed the party. Now, I am not suggesting that anybody else do that, because seriously, we're not supposed to be party crashers. We're supposed to be reasonable adults. Watch Stitching with the Sisterlies. Are they reasonable adults? Watch Anna Stitch Roadie. Is she a reasonable adult? I know I'm not. But anyway, she came and she crashed the party just because Julie, the instigator, was showing pictures of all the fabrics. And they were gorgeous. There was Pumpkin King. If they had had a piece of that in Ada, I would have bought it. Beautiful linen, but I didn't want to stitch on a linen. Nutmeg was another one that Anna was teasing Cheryl with. I understand why Cheryl caved and had to come crash the party. I understand. FOMO. We all know what it is. It's a real thing. I posted a series of pictures today. Some were taken by me. Some were ones that I stole from Julie on Instagram. Julie doesn't post on Instagram, so I can steal her pictures and post them. And I've just told everybody that I've stolen her pictures and posted them, so she knows. But I showed some pictures of the annex, how it was laid out, all the people that were there, the crew of us that, you know, there's people that you just shouldn't sit with because you're going to misbehave. That's my crew. That's my crew. What can I say? So, I think that I have overwhelmed myself to the point where I'm choking on my own spit. And I think that I have shared everything that I wanted to share with you today. I've got everything on my notes, and other than the fact that I forgot to go upstairs and grab something for giveaway because Mark is sleeping upstairs and I wanted to get this recorded while he's asleep because I'm shy. Yes, I am. Anna forgot her name badge. For Acorns and Threads, we have special name badges. What did I just do with it? These were made for us years, well, I've had mine for years, because every time you go to a function at Acorns and Threads, you get a different little button or bead or whatever to add to it. And this year we got a 2024 pin. I was sitting next to Jenny and she goes, "Where do I put this so I don't lose it?" And I said, "You sew it onto your name badge right now." And I promptly grabbed needle and thread because we're stitchers and we have that. Stitched my 2024 on, and then I handed the needle to her and she goes, "Oh, well that way I won't lose it." But Anna, who has been to several functions at Acorns and Threads, forgot her name badge. And she had a bag of shame. Badge of shame. So anyway, she didn't get to stitch her 2024 pin onto her badge. I hear Mark crawling down the stairs, which is my sign that I need to finish this video. I've shared everything that I've wanted to. So until we meet again, my friends, live long and stitch on. And Mark can come in and have his breakfast now. Talk to y'all later. Bye.